votes were questionable. You cannot put business on hold week after week in Connecticut now that regular session has started. We have to all bond together and do the work that the people elected us to do.
Are you okay with this idea of using $200 million in bonding
Look,
to make up the loss of the tolling revenue?
it doesn't make up the loss from the tolling revenue. Tolling revenue is $172 million. He had a geo bonding in there for $100 million. So for him just to maintain status quo, he would need at least $272 million. But if he has a plan that shows $200 million in geo, he'd have to demonstrate that plan. But as I understand his numbers, he'd have to be closer to $300 million just to reach the toll. And then he'd have to do that every year. So that's 3 this year, 3 the next. That's a huge amount of debt. So there are some concerns I would have for that. But look, if he wants to bring that out, having a bipartisan discussion about a transportation plan that revives the infrastructure here in the state of Connecticut, we are very open to bipartisan conversations, always have been.
Would you be open to using this borrowing to then try to access the low interest loans from the federal government, or do you think
I think there needs to be a comprehensive approach to this. Okay, I think doing this piecemeal, and as Senator Fasano said, that's all we've heard is what you heard, the governor mentioned. So I think there needs to be a comprehensive plan on how this is going to happen. You can't just say we're going to borrow here, we're going to stick this money there. So I can't say whether I'm open or not to any of it, because these are piecemeal comments that are not part of a comprehensive plan. And if he has one, we'd love to see it. But most importantly, we have offered, this has been going on for years, and in the past year, very intensively about this tolls plan and transportation funding. We just want to sit down and share everybody's ideas and figure out how to do it. We just didn't believe that tolls were the way to go.
What does this do to the governor's ability to govern? He's had this year-long fight. He was undercut by elements of his own party, as well as opposition from you guys over the content of the bill. So how would you assess his ability to go forward at this point?
Look, we all know that your enemy today is your friend tomorrow in this building. So I wouldn't read too much into this. This is an issue they couldn't come together on. There are a lot of issues in the Capitol, but I don't think there's ever in this building, among legislators or parties or committee members, a irreversible gap in conversations. I'm sure there's feelings either way, but at the end of the day, there's a lot more business in the building other than tolls.
But I think there's a lesson to be taken from this, that having an idea and then barreling through with it, even though many people don't agree with it, evidenced by the past 13 or 14 months when there's been plan after plan after plan, that hasn't worked. And it's very simple. There's a majority in the House and Senate and a Democrat governor, and they've been able to very easily pass the things they're interested in passing, whether we like them or not. And that's their prerogative to do so. And this was different. And so not sitting down and finding a meeting of the minds and a comprehensive bipartisan plan is what I think hurt this. And I hope that there's a lesson to be learned from that.
Are tolls dead, or do we? Nothing is ever really
Nothing's
dead.
dead
Is that
in
the
this
question
building.
of the year?
There's nothing's dead in this
Nothing's
building.
dead. So you won't be surprised if they come back up again like Frankenstein. They'll be back.
Back up again this session, I might be a little bit surprised. Back up again in 2021, I think you could probably bank on it.
Nevis?
I would be surprised if it came up this session. Then again, things pop up at the last minute. Things pop up a week from now, a day from now. We've been on the week-to-week basis lately. I think, and I'm hoping that the House Democrats understand what the Senate Democrats seem to have understood for a while. This is not a good vote, and it's a very risky vote for them because the people of Connecticut do not like it, and they do not want their hands stuck in your pocket one more time.
Well, isn't it a matter of, the Senate Democrats, a majority of them do support tolls. Some of them want to do passenger cars in addition to trucks, and some want to do only tolls. Now, they can't seem to get together among themselves, but it seems to me that there are Democratic votes for tolls.
Well, if there was, we'd see a vote, Paul. We all know the deal in this building is if you have the votes, vote. If you don't, talk. And there are not enough either trust between the two chambers, maybe that's what it boils down to, but that still comes to a vote count. They're not confident that they have enough votes. If they were confident there are enough votes in the House and confident there's enough votes in the Senate, you wouldn't have this 6-6 deal, you wouldn't have these other things going on. And I get the trepidation. I get that there's, particularly during session when a lot of things are going on. So, all I can say is I don't believe there are the votes. I think there's some Democrats who feel everything should be told. There's others who believe trucks should be told. And maybe that's where the rub is on the votes.
And I think the word of the year politically is trust. And you've seen that there was a lack of trust between the House leadership and the Senate leadership. Now, we haven't seen that in many other bills this year. They have no problem in the history of the state of Connecticut calling a bill first in the House and the Senate takes it, or a bill first in the Senate and the House takes it. This is the only thing I've seen in my 20 years that has been like this. So they didn't trust each other. And if they don't trust each other, how do they expect the people of Connecticut to trust them? Because that's really what this boils down to. I was talking to the speaker the other day, and he was talking to me about poll results on people supporting trucks only. I said, Joe, here's the problem. X amount of people may support a trucks only plan, but what they don't support is everything else that's going to be the natural result of that plan. Adding cars, adding rates, adding more gantries, and so on and so on and so on. Because that is the shtick of the state of Connecticut. Tell you one thing, then continue to add on to it. That's what people don't trust. So that's why there's such a problem in the state. And that's why you've seen such a grassroots effort in the state. I mean, certainly we feel how we feel, and we've fought it. We fight a lot of issues, right? But it's the people at the coffee shop and the gym and the mom that stays home and takes care of her kids. Those are the people that rose up with this. And that's what made the difference this year.
So do you think, in the end, you would agree that the bill as written is not that big a deal? In other words, if you had an assurance that that's it for 10 years and that provision to keep other expansion of tolls out until 2030 would really stick, would you, maybe not you, but would a lot more people support it?
Well, I think it's two things. You can't all of a sudden say today, trust me, this time we mean it. Right? When all along the way, whether it's lottery going, slot machines going to education, or conveyance tax, or the hospital tax, or income tax increasing, or fill in the blank, right? Any of this stuff. Today you can't say we mean it. You only have to show you mean it. You can't say you mean it. And I will tell you from our perspective, we don't support tolls. But you got to the point where a year ago, the governor, when asked the question, Governor, why didn't you keep your campaign promise of only trucks only? And he said, well, I didn't know the financial situation was as bad as it was, which is a problem in and of itself. But more importantly, number two, there's no way you can substantially invest in transportation in this state with trucks only. And now, he's promising his children's lives over the fact that he wants to push this bill. You can't have it both ways. It can't be insignificant a year ago and couldn't possibly responsibly fund transportation, and all of a sudden now think it's great. It's not. Even people that are pro-tolls realize this is not going to do enough. So you don't water it down to the point just to say I won something or just to get it on the books.
Did either of you at any point think that they did have the votes? Did you ever think July, August, whenever? Did you ever think that they had the votes?
Wednesday.
No, I mean, I'll
9 o'clock this morning.
No, 2 days.
No,
We were going to
I-
do it 2 days before the session. There were multiple
48
times,
hours.
right? We are going to do it December 18th.
I think that if they
Did you
had
ever
them,
think
that
they had the votes?
we would have voted on it. That's the thing. I mean, I think that they've been very, very close. I mean, we've heard many times the Senate was 18-18, but I think even those 18, there was one or two that were very, very squishy on it and were very concerned about it. I think in the House, which usually has a lot more wiggle room, that vote was very, very close, and I think you had more people that were squishy on it and had serious concerns about it. So I think, let's be honest, both chambers, the Speaker of the House and the Senate President, wouldn't have been so worried about who was starting first and then splitting votes and setting precedent about how we're going to vote on something. Have you ever seen them worried about who started it before me? It's like, oh, you started, no, I start, okay, somebody will start it, we'll get it. This was first time, case of first impression, because neither one of them trusted the other had the votes. And I think, to Len's point, we've said it time after time. If you had the votes, you vote.
So, Chris, I think, did I ever believe at any time? The answer is yes, I did, honestly. But as soon as they decided they were going to split the bill or hold the chamber open, my thoughts had changed. But when a speaker or the Senate president says we're coming in to vote for tolls, I would think, in the normal course of the business that we do in this building, that they would have the votes. It's just a logical conclusion, and I never challenge what a caucus leader says about the votes in their caucus, because I certainly don't know. So if they say they were coming in for a vote, I did assume they had the votes. I certainly was prepping as if they had the votes. But when this back and forth began, I began to wonder whether they really did or did. But every time they said they were going to have a vote, I prepared for the vote. I never guessed what I thought, right?
And we all did. The problem is they kept telling us we were coming in, but they never called us in. And that was the real significance. Because we can make plans on doing a lot of things in this building, as we know on many bills, but calling us into session means you're ready to go. So they never took that final step.
And can I just be clear on one thing? The filibuster that's been talked about, if this bill was one bill, brought up through the House and the Senate, or the Senate and the House, it was never the intention of the Republican Senate to filibuster. I would let it do its due course, and however long it took, it took. But when you are going to bastardize the institution and the fundamental reason why we have this institution by splitting a bill or holding votes up, that's what I objected to. And that's what I told Senator Looney when he informed the press 30 hours of debate, was that yes, if you are not going to respect the institution, I'm not going to respect the institution. You're not going to play games with this building. And that's how I felt so strongly about it. And I've never done that in the Senate before. I said we would read the bill and other things, but it was the fact that they were attacking the institution that we know we don't do things that way here. That's what was offensive to me. And I didn't want to surprise anybody. I wanted to be forthright. And that's what I told Senator Looney. It wasn't the essence of the bill, because the majority has a right to put any bill which reasonable minds can differ on in front of the legislature, and the votes will be had. Plenty of bills I don't like, but it was the institutional attack that bothered me. I just want to clarify my position for the record. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.